everyone, and welcome to another video on the channel. Today we are back in my 2026 reading journal, and we're going to be focusing on the next two pages. So on the left hand side we're going to have the Read the Rainbow, and on the right hand side we're going to have Day's Red Pixel. Now this is very different for me because normally I have an extra page for my bookshelfie that lines up next to the Day's Red Pixel, so I did have to do a little bit of problem solving and figuring out how I filled in that left hand side, as I prefer to have my Day's Red Pixel on the right hand side of the page. So I decided that I would move the Read the Rainbow there because it is just simply a place that I will be putting down book covers. I don't have to write anything or colour anything in. It'll be a perfect spot for that. However, we do need to set up both pages, and I've started by using some of that Park Lane Dreamland paper that I've been using throughout the entire setup of this 2026 reading journal. I'm now going to work on trying to get all the pencil marks in place for both pages, and it's very straightforward. I am going to continue with what I had for 2025 and have 2 pixel graphs for this Day's Red Pixel. I really enjoyed having the ability to mark down how many books I read per day, and also marking down what days I finished a book and where. So I have decided to carry that through. And then I'm just utilizing my current journal off to the side there to figure out what height I want the books to be to go into this new Read the Rainbow shelf on this other side here, because I haven't had any complaints about this page. It works really well the way it is, so I'm just going to keep it as it is. I am contemplating perhaps putting some coloured paper down, but for now I have just left it very much so as I have always done it. So I'm just going into this little file here where I keep everything for my current journal process, and that is where I'm storing all the headers for this 2026 reading journal, and grabbing those out to trace in to the journal. Because I've gone ahead and put the paper up the top where I would normally put the header, I'm going to have to put that on top of the paper, but because it was so pale, it worked out really well. So on the left hand side I'm going to use the purple Mildliner, and then on the right hand side I'm going to use the pink one. So for this theme I had 2 Mildliners put aside for the headers, and it worked out really well that I could use them both, because on the left hand side the paper is slightly darker, so it was much easier to use the purple pen on that side. So as to be expected, there will be as much footage as possible left in here to show you the process of setting it up from a blank page to the end result. However, I have had to cut just little bits out here and there because my head has just become too invasive into the shot. If you are new to these videos, I have had the zoom completely out for setting these up because I am utilizing this footage as well for vertical filming, so I have to edit it into a vertical frame for social media, and having it zoomed in at any point just makes it really hard to work with. So I film everything at the widest or the smallest frame, so unfortunately it catches everything, and then I can work with it for making social media posts, because I am sharing the whole setup of this over there as well, and it makes sense to film it once and use it twice rather than having to try and film with multiple different devices at the same time. So at this point I was really happy with how these 2 pages were coming together, and it continued that way until we get to a point where I just think I went too far with the decoration. You'll see what I mean when we get there, but at this point we've just got the headers on, so it's not like we've got a lot going on here and a lot of pencil marks. So I did continue with the colouring in and then outlining these headers with that Anko glitter gel pen. I think it just gives it a nice little pop in person. Unfortunately, depending on the angle of the lighting and the book, you don't get to see it as very obvious as I do, and it might seem a bit pointless in the video, but for me I just like this little sheen that's around all the letters. It looks really pretty, so I'm going to continue that with all the headers for this entire setup for 2026. And now we just got to do the same thing on this side, but with the pink pen, But thankfully for you, I, again, do cut some of that footage out because it is a bit repetitive. So if you are new to a pixel graph or chart, essentially you can track anything in it. You make enough spaces for every day of the year. So mine are 12 across, 12 boxes across, and then 31 boxes down. And every little box you unfortunately have to line. So I have had to cut that footage the most simply because my head got in the way a lot, which is really unfortunate because I would really love for you all to see how that footage came together, but I did keep as much of it as I could. So here I am just making the outline of the pixel graphs, and then I'm going to use a lighter pen to do the inside work because a thinner pen to do the inside work because it just gets very, very repetitive, and having thinner lines mean you get more space in each box to color in. And then depending on what you're tracking, you color it in with a particular code with your key down the bottom that you would create. So for me, I always have the same color key code for both graphs because that works for both of them. So on the key I have 1 book, 2 book, 3 plus book, and then did not read, and I use that on both sides. So obviously on the daily side I put down how many books I read that particular day and color it in that way. And then when I finished a book, sometimes I finish more than 1 book on that same day, so then I can color the same way, and it's worked really well over 2025. It was something that I changed up for this year, so definitely want to carry that on into 2026 because I've really enjoyed it. So now that the outline is done, I'm just going to check on my phone if 2026 was a leap year or not, and it's not. So I'm going to go in and put down what you can't see, but I can in person, the numbers of the days of each month, and then I thankfully chose a different color pen to do the month headers at the top, and I just do an initial, so J for January and so forth, and then as each month progresses I get to fill them in at the end of the month, and it's really nice to see how they turn out. So as always, on the left hand side it's the day's red pixel, which is what it's titled on, and then on the right it's the finished books kind of list. So I'm just going to color in the portions of the graph that don't have those particular days on it, so then it makes it easier for me next year to know where to put each color and not panic and think I've missed a day or something like that. And then that page is almost done. Decoration wise, I do come in and unfortunately butcher it, but at this point that is the core portion of that page completed. We just need to put the key at the bottom as well. I used my Mildliners again to do the outlines for the colors of Read the Rainbow. I really enjoy doing this because they have really bold colors. The only one I'm not happy with is pink. I probably should have used the pink that I've been using for the headers, to be honest, because it's just a bit too pale. Last year's one leant more towards purple, so it was like a magenta color, and I wasn't happy with it, so I've chosen this lighter pink this time around, and I mean it works. You can tell that it's a pink box, but compared to the rest of the colors it kind of looks quite bland, so maybe I'll change that. I'm not sure. I don't have a red Mildliner, so that's the closest we're going to get. I guess that's kind of like a red one, but it looks more pink to me. But if you haven't done Read the Rainbow before, essentially you just take the book covers that you've read and try to match them to the colors. I personally prefer doing this with romance novels because they tend to have more plain block color backgrounds, which makes it really easy to match it. However, I like the challenge of doing fantasy as well, so I think I'll probably just do whatever fits at first this year. I think I did that in 2025 and I found it really helpful to be not locked in by a genre. So that is how I've done it. And also I can't represent white on the page there. So I do grey outline, and I either use a white book or a grey book for that box. And that is where I should have kind of stopped, aside from putting the key on. In the end, I'm happy enough with how it comes together, but I was feeling like it looked kind of bland, and obviously this page is going to get a lot of colour added to it with the book covers, and then on the Days Red Pixel it's going to be coloured in with the particular colours that I choose for 2026. I still haven't settled on any colours yet. It tends to be something I set up at the last minute rather than try and figure out now. But one of the things that has sort of carried throughout this entire theme is butterflies, and I got these really pretty butterfly stamps in recently, and they have some really tiny ones, so I wanted to put them on. But this is where it kind of gets a little bit maximalist. Is that how you say it? Yeah, it's there's way too many butterflies by the end of it. And I was listening to an audiobook that was really cozy, and I was so in the zone of listening to that and just letting my hands do the thing, that when I kind of stopped and looked back, I was like, oh no, I've gone too far. And then I had to go, well, I just have to lean into it now and go even harder. So it becomes a very sparkly, chaotic kind of mess, and I'm not sure if I like it anymore. But it's going to serve the purpose for the year of 2026 of what's going to be put on the page. And it's not too ostentatious, I hope. So I really like the Read the Rainbow side more, because the butterflies, I was able to use the bigger ones on the header there rather than all the little ones floating around everywhere. But yeah, I've also gone ahead off camera and added a white gel pen around all the butterflies that are on the purple paper, just to make them pop a little bit more, and that definitely helped. So I'm really happy with that. But this is where I am starting to go, okay, now what do we do next? And of course I added in sparkles. This is something that I have used on almost every single page throughout the setup, so it didn't seem unnatural to lean towards doing sparkles. And they're just literally 4 little dashes that join together to make a little star kind of thing. I really like them, but by the time I was finished doing it all with different colors, this page, yeah, it's become something. Again, I'm really happy with the Read the Rainbow side compared to the Days Red Pixel. I think it's just those little butterflies are a little bit all over the place, but that's okay. And that's pretty much it. So once I finish doing a whole bunch of sparkles, this is where I leave it, and we get to fill it in next year. So I hope you really enjoyed seeing the process for this quick video. And until we next meet, I hope you have fun reading or journaling, and I'll see you in something very soon. Bye everyone.